Everybody, it's Adam from LUCIDPIXUL, and today I actually have my companion with me. My little boy's homesick, my little 2-year-old, and he likes to talk, so you're going to have to deal with that, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, good God, Lucas, what did you do? Sweetie, there's none left. Look, you ate all of them. They're all gone. They're all in there, okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I can't help you anymore. You're going to have to get a job and start helping your family. No more. All done. But you can play with the box. You want to play with the box? You can put your cart in the box. Or the cup. So, welcome to this week's Q A. To start us off, John Lau, who of course we all know very well, he's submitted a lot of awesome work to the brush sauce theaters and stuff like that. And John writes something that I think you're all going to be able to relate to. Hey Adam, great critiques with Tyler. I've noticed a more recurring theme in my work. And that is, I always feel like I'm missing something. In terms of percentages, if we were to mathematicalize it, yes, I just invented a new word. I'd like my work to be around 90 to 90. I like to feel 90 to 95% done. Personally, I never see a piece of mine as 100. But my work seemingly always feels like it's around the 80 to 85% completed mark. But by the time I reach that point, I feel like I've already worked 16 to 24 hours painting at this point, and it feels like I'm just noodling away at things for the sake of noodling away. I've tried walking away and coming back to a piece generally the next day, which is good practice. But again, my brain gets into this noodle mode rather than a targeted focus. So what can I do to push my work to that 90 to 95% mark instead of feeling like I'm missing something and noodling away? Very valuable, and it's a question that a lot of people have to deal with, because A, when do you know when something's done? B, how do you know if it's good enough, right? It's kind of like you have to, there's a lot of having to do it yourself type of decision making. You have to manage yourself as an artist and have to be able to make decisions. Now, one of the secrets about making a decision is to make the decision, okay? But just remember that artistically speaking, we're always kind of trying to decide, have I pushed it far enough? But also, have I pushed it too far? And that goes with your gut instinct, okay? Don't worry, that's not my final answer. I'm just giving you kind of a good bit of an overview. But trust your gut instinct. You have to be, it takes a little bit of practice to be able to say, okay, I think this is good enough to call done. Sometimes you come back a day after. The whole coming back a day after or coming back a few hours later and getting fresh eyes, that's more in terms of you already think it's done, it already feels done, but you want to give it a second look to see if you can push it further. And that generally I find comes in most handy when I'm trying to push a finished work even further, kind of upping the bar a little bit, okay? But here's the real magic ingredient to getting things done, to pushing it to that level. Reference material. I don't know where this came into the mix, where maybe I don't know where this comes from, but a lot of artists, including myself for a long time, felt like you have to do everything from your head. Or maybe life drawing class or doing still lifes turned you off and it was something you didn't really like at the time. But that really is the essence to producing, to getting that extra level of design, detail, refinement, rendering, color, texture, and polish in your work. When I checked out John's work, you can go and check it out on Google+. He's got his whole collection of work there. It's really nice stuff. And what I noticed is a lot of it looks like it's from your head. And when you do things from your head, you tend to symbolize things. This is the symbol of a fence. This is the symbol of grass. This is the symbol of a tree, but you're not actually drawing the real thing. And as such, symbolism only goes so far. The whole point of symbolism is to keep things as simplified and to the point as possible. But that's not real life. Real life is very heavy in detail, very heavy in texture. You know, there's a lot of richness. If you go outside and you look at the side of a building, in your head you'd think, okay, well, brick wall and grass. No, look close. There's little vines that are growing up. There's cracks. There's little discolorations in the brick. There's little cracks in the brick. There's reflective color. There's so much going on that in your head you can't figure out. And that's why when you hit that to 80 to 85% mark, that's why you start to go, I don't know where to go with my work. Is because you're trying to push symbolism further than it can actually go. You're trying to paint real life with symbols. It's kind of like when, when children are painting, children are all about symbolism, right? The sun is a circle with the lines, and the tree is two sticks with the thing on top, and grass is, green lines. It's symbolism. But us, even an artist like you, like John, okay, who is very experienced and has a lot of skill, still we are just as susceptible to getting caught up with symbolism and painting things from our head, because that's how we're created. The human brain always simplifies things to make things more comprehensive. Like like if you've ever been on Facebook and they show that where you can read an entire paragraph where only the first and last letter are in the right place and everything in the middle is jumbled, but we can still read it as if it was written normally, because our brain sees words as images, not as individual letters. We see the world the same way. We see the world around us as symbols. That is a tree, that is a car, that is a road, right? In fact, as artists, you have to silence that mind's eye, what you think you see, and observe closely. When you look at skilled artists and they're doing these cool abstract creature designs with this awesome anatomy and all kinds of cool stuff like that, it might look like they're drawing it from their head. And in some cases, yeah, with enough experience, you can start pulling it off from your head. But chances are they are using actual reference, but morphing that reference into something fantastical, okay? So the secret answer to that is reference. But just to address the last little thing here, you're saying you've already put 16 to 24 hours into the piece and you feel like, oh, you're just noodling. 16 to 24 hours is not a long time, okay? Especially when you're upping the bar, you're pushing the quality, you're pushing design, you're pushing the rendering, okay? 16 to 24 hours is a drop in the bucket. I've spent, I've pushed myself to spend 6 months on a piece of artwork, but professionally speaking, that's, unless you're working for a big gallery or something like that, that's not really something that's going to help you with your career. That was more for myself. But I can easily, depending on the type of artwork that I'm doing, I can spend anywhere from a day to a week, right? Or more sometimes, depending on the demand of that particular piece. So 16 to 24 hours, don't worry about it. Keep going. Don't look at the clock. The clock it doesn't have any relation to your work artistically. All right. All right. Our next question is from K Lodula, and originally the last part of this question was a little bit difficult for me to understand. So as we were replying to each other on Facebook, we were actually using Google Translate between English and Portuguese, just to help figure out what his question was at the end. But essentially, what Kay wrote is, "Hi Adam, I'm from Brazil. I find your tutorials very helpful, and I love the tree one. Thank you very much. So I decided to check out your channel and find this contest with you and Tyler, the Brush Sauce Theater, or BST contest, and found that very helpful too." Now, the last sentence was hard to read, but essentially what he was asking was, how do I enter the contest? That was his question. So to do that, on my channel, I've only posted episode 5, okay, the fifth contest for Brush Sauce Theater. But in the link in the description is the link to Tyler's Google Plus page for the Brush Sauce Theater competition, because we do it together, right? And also, you can go to his channel, Tyler Edlin, okay, Edlin, killer artist. I mean, you'll see when you see his channel. And he's got all of the Brush Sauce Theaters, all episodes, and tons of other amazing stuff out there. So you can go and check that out as well. And in the link, in the description of his videos, he also has a link to his Google Plus page, so you can go and submit your work if you want to enter the competition. And it's fun for you because you're going to get free critique from 2 artists, from 2 professionals, that both kind of have their own area of expertise, our own specialization, so to speak. And you enter the competition, you get a chance to grow and get some nice exposure for free for your artwork, and none of it costs you a penny. All right, so check it out for yourself. All right, question number 3 comes from Tekutan, cool name. Question: I wanted to migrate to Canada because I like the country. It's a beautiful country. Our Prime Minister is a moron, but we'll be rectifying that soon. But it is required for me to get a lot of paperwork done. Yeah, like dealing with visa, work experience records, and even getting my IELTS certificate. Not sure what that is, but sounds complicated. But that's if I voluntarily want to migrate there, though. So I'm thinking of just making a good kick-ass portfolio within a year and attract employers, like BioWare, for instance. So they will deal with most of the paperwork instead. I don't know if that's a good idea. What do you think? Well, just as a disclaimer, of course, I don't work for Immigration Canada or anything like that. So I really don't know about the paperwork or visas or anything like that. I don't know how that works, so I can't give any legal advice in that regard. But a lot of these big companies, like when I was working at EA, I had artists from South America in my team. I had one of my lead artists was from France, from Europe. I mean, we had artists from all over the place. So there's a lot of people that were in Montreal. We're working in at our studio on workers' visas and stuff like that. And I know that their HR departments, they're open to this. They're very, like, one of the ways they get a lot of talent worldwide is by offering this service. So what I suggest you do is actually call them directly. Call to speak to the HR department. If you're interested in BioWare, call BioWare. The area code for Montreal is 514, at least in the main hub of the city. So yeah, but just go check out the number, find it online, and give them a call directly. And they should. And a lot of these companies even have a toll-free number, so it won't cost you anything for a long-distance phone call as well. It's worth checking out, unless of course you have international calling. But just on the artistic side of things, this is actually reflecting something I mentioned in an earlier talk, and that was how to get a job in a different country when you're not from that country, and there's lots of competition. The real bottom line, the essence is you get hired if your artwork kicks ass, and if it really fits the style of that particular studio. Like, you can be an amazing artist, but you're not going to get hired at a studio because your style doesn't fit the kind of games that they work on. If they're more sci-fi games or more fantasy-based games or more cartoon-based games, you want to have the type of art style that fits that studio. Now, does that mean reinvent yourself and do something that you don't like doing for that studio? Well, there's a lot of people that do it. Some people sometimes succeed, but a lot of people don't. I'm more of an advocate for doing what you love most, getting really, really good at it, and finding the studios that you find you fit best. The ones that don't require you to reinvent yourself, because you're going to be able to fit into the company a lot more easily and appreciate the work you do a lot more. And generally speaking, you'll get better results. But like I said, as far as the legalities and paperwork and visas and all that kind of stuff, I really can't answer that. But I'm sure the HR department, the human resources department for that particular company, will be able to let you know if that's the service they offer, and B, where you can go. They'll be able to direct you to the right place so that you know where to get the documentation and all that kind of stuff. All right, so good luck with that. All right, our next isn't a question, it's more of a piece of advice that I thought a lot of people, especially if you're from the US and you're looking to, you want to go to school and stuff like that, and you're concerned about your finances and stuff, Nick Antos has a really good piece of advice, and I'm going to elaborate on that after. Hey Adam, I've learned through personal experience a trick about managing student loans that I hope can help your students as well. First of all, I sincerely believe that having to attend a 4-year university right out of high school is bullshit. Colleges are more fickle with handing out scholarships, and as you said, those kids are at a point where the majority of them don't even know how to handle savings accounts, tax forms. Not very smart. No, and I've even mentioned in the past walking into into a college. I walked into my old college, and there was a table set up with a bank that was handing out credit cards to students. It's just freaking thieves, Here's $50,000. Don't worry about it. Spend it on whatever you want, or they'll say something stupid like "be responsible," screw you, and so they can chase after them with debt collectors for the rest of their life. Instead, what I've encouraged to the best of my ability was that everyone should enter a community college after high school, because first, the cost is minuscule for getting your core required classes out of the way, like math, history, biology, etc. Because wasting your time taking those non-art related classes in an art school while paying double for tuition doesn't make any sense. No, it doesn't. Second of all, and perhaps most importantly, by studying hard in community colleges, one has a much, much greater chance of transferring into the university of their choice with tons and tons of scholarships. I myself attended community college in New York City when I was 19 and transferred to New York University after 3 years. Got my bachelor's in economics at NYU in 2 years and still came out debt-free. So this is somebody who really did put a lot of thought and was very proactive with it, instead of kind of just accepting the loan and dealing with it after, right? He knew the loopholes around it in a smart way and got the education he was looking for. So, hats off, Nick, for that. Now, to elaborate, this is something that pertains more to American students, but I have mentioned, as you know, I'm from Canada. I'm from Montreal, and the structure, the actual school structure is different, and as well as finances. Now, finances are more manageable in Canada. Okay, definitely, my education wasn't that expensive, but the structure of the schools are different, and that's something I wanted to mention. In Canada, after high school, you go straight to college or CEGEP, right? And that's usually 3 years, give or take, depending on whether you want to stretch it or not. And you get your college diploma. And from there, you go to university where you can study for your bachelor's, master's, doctorate, etc., etc. Although in fine arts, I don't believe you have a doctorate in fine arts or animation or whatever it is that you're studying. From my personal experience, when I was in college, I got a very good education in fine arts. I really liked it. I was at Dawson College at the time. I can't speak for it today, but I'm assuming it's still good. And then from there, I went to Concordia University, where I studied classical animation, where it was a very good school for students that were into doing their own personal works, Canadian Film Board type of stuff. Which, if you're familiar with Canadian Film Board art, it's very unique. It's very different. It's very often experimental, all of these things. And in terms of the Canadian Film Board's contributions to the world of animation, it's priceless. But it wasn't me. I'm more of a classical animator. I was more of a commercial animator. So colleges schools like Sheridan College, for instance, were a lot more valuable to me. Although I didn't go there because I was a father. I found out I was going to be a dad. So I stayed in Montreal. I felt this, and some of my graduating students from the college that I teach at have expressed the same thing to me, and that is that I found that some of my students had contacted me and said we learned more in college than the university is teaching. It was actually like taking a step back, right? And when you're going to university, you want to launch yourself from where you left forward, right? And what some of my students were expressing was the fact that wasn't the case. They felt like they were just basically repeating or even getting a lesser education in university. So university, just because it follows college, doesn't mean it's better. Furthermore, what my advice would be, make sure that whatever school that you do decide to go to, if it's local, if you're traveling to go to a different school in a different city or country, that you really make sure that school fits you. Because very often when I wanted to study animation, Concordia was the only one that really taught animation, I thought, or so I thought back at the time. So I went to Concordia, and it taught me some old school machines like the Oxbury camera and how to edit film on a Steinbeck, which is fine, historically speaking, but did not apply really because we were making the transition into doing things digitally while I was in school. It was just starting to become a thing on very old school software and computers and stuff like that. And furthermore, what I was actually being taught, apart from the basics of animation, really did not do a lot for me. So it was actually, while I was in school, I was also working in the field as a classical animator, as a key animator, and then I ended up working in video games and all that kind of stuff. So the real experience and education I got was hands-on in a studio, working. And when you're a student, doing your stage, for instance, or, very often studios are very interested in hiring students because you cost less. That's the reality, right? A senior artist can be very expensive, and sometimes you can get 3 juniors for the same cost of a single senior. So that can be an advantage for you. A lot of students feel like, oh, well, I don't have as much experience, it's going to be harder for me to get a job. Actually, it can be the opposite. Okay, you can have a better chance of getting a job because you cost less and you're right in there in the studio learning all the good stuff you need, the hands-on stuff that pertains to where you are, where the industry is at that particular point in time, in terms of artistry, in terms of technology, all that kind of stuff. So don't think you're at a disadvantage, but do your homework. Find out if that school fits you. If you have the luxury of traveling to a school that you know is going to give you the education that you're looking for, to put you in the career path that you're looking for, then do it. Otherwise, there are alternatives. There's online schools that are popping up all over the place and stuff like that, so that's definitely something worth checking out for a minuscule fraction of the price, right? And again, you have a big potpourri, a big buffet of different artists that you can choose from to find that one that fits you specifically. All right. So thank you very much for that, Nick. It's definitely advice that a lot of people are going to get a lot of use out of. All right, our next question is from Russell Fairchild, of course, the man who I hate for his wonderful name. Thanks, man. You're welcome. This really confirms my feelings of college and schooling. Okay, we're talking about money again. We're talking about finances. I didn't go to college right after high school because I knew I couldn't afford it. And the idea of owing that much money for something I'm not guaranteed a job, that doesn't guarantee me in the job in the field. What sucks too is that everyone's trying to pressure you into going to college, and at the same time, I knew college is not the be-all end-all answer, and a soul-sucking industry that is killing the dreams of the young. LOL. I guess it just hit me that I'm turning 26 this year, and I haven't gotten any schooling for art, and no, it's what I want to do. I was suddenly like, shit, I need to get a move on. Agreed, non-artistic jobs really do help. I've been in retail. I was in retail since I was 16. It really made me the confident person I am today. It taught me how to approach anyone, putting aside prejudice or even personal qualms with that person and handle most situations that are given. Has helped me grow so much. Thanks for being so honest, man. Your Q&As are awesome. Well, thank you very much, Russell. Russell is talking about, people very often have this feeling, artists very often have this feeling, especially professionals, people who've been doing it for a while and have to, find a job to make ends meet, that you feel like you're wasting your time. You're not wasting your time because sometimes, very often, most often, there are skills that you're going to get outside of the art industry that'll help you with your career. How dance, for me, how doing dance choreographies and learning how to get over my stage fright helped me being a teacher, how being a waiter helped me break the ice with people, how, all of these things, working at Spring Canada, learning how to talk to people, learning how to deal with conflict management, that helped me as a director endlessly, people calling me up and saying, I'm fed up with your company, I'm sick and tired, blah, 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 and I haven't even spoken yet, and learning how to talk through that kind of stuff was hugely valuable to me as well, how to keep calm and diplomatic during a conversation. And as far as the industry is concerned, like how college, what Russell is mentioning here is how very often people feel like the industry itself, be it the educational industry or the work field itself, can really suck that dream out of you, right? That's the thing. That's the thing I want to talk to, and this is actually going to relate to another comment that I'm gonna be reading next, and that is looking at the industry as a whole, looking at starting to get some. You can call it like getting a taste of reality, okay? But I'm using the word reality very, very gently here because that's not really what I emphasize. But kind of getting a wake up call as far as the industry is concerned when money and and politics start to come into the picture. That does exist. Money and politics do exist, and very often it can be a big downer. You have this dream and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, I want to do this and I want to produce this type of art and I want to give something back. And then when you get into the industry, it's like, oh, I got to do this shitty project for this asshole that I don't like. And, and I have colleagues that are trying to cut my throat. There can be a dark side to life, of course, that sucks and all of us hate it. Nobody likes it. But that's life. Life is a balance, right? Life isn't all peaches and cream. There's politics. There's tax forms you got to fill out every year. There's if you're in debt, you've got to deal with that too. These are realities of life, and the best way of dealing with that, from my experience, is deal with it. Do it right away and deal with it. Don't let these stresses accumulate. Don't let finances accumulate and weigh you down. And if they have weighed you down, if you have put it off for years and you are exhausted and you are worn out, and you're dealing with this person and that person and you're dealing with a bunch of incompetent, rude, cold, dry people on the phone and all that kind of stuff, deal with it. Get it out of the way, because you can turn a 2-week problem into a 10-year problem if you just put it aside, right? You don't want to put that kind of aside because you do want to focus on the things that you're passionate about. But at the same time, when I've gone through my tough times in the past, be it financially, be it professionally, whatever the case might be, one thing always stayed true, and that was I knew what I loved. and I knew where I wanted to go. I knew this was my passion. I knew this was my career, and I was just going to keep on going. And as I'm going forward with my colleagues, with all my friends, all moving forward towards our future careers, slowly but surely, certain people would deke out of the race. They deke out of the race. They got fed up. Enough, and they deke out. And there was only a small handful of us that actually got through to the finish line. And those of us that did came out with years and years of experience and skill and artistry. We learned a lot about politics. We learned a lot about dealing with the logistics of a company. We gained very valuable experience that we could contribute to other artists and our the artists that we direct, the artists that we teach, the artists that are our friends, that type of thing. We got through it, okay? But that's only because it was worth it. Art might. Here's a little bit of reality for you. When you truly love something, when you truly, and that isn't only about your career. When you love someone, think of somebody you love more than life itself, like my little guy back here. Okay. He can be fussy. He can be a pain in the ass. He can repeat things 25,000 times a day, and he can be pushy, and he can wake me up in the morning by head bunting me in the crotch. Poof! You try waking up like that. I still love him. He's still my little boy. I still smile when I see him. I will always love him. Okay, and the same thing applies to my career. Even though I get kicked in the nut, even though my career has kicked me in the nuts in the past, it's also been my greatest source of joy, and it is who I am. It's I take the good with the bad, and that's the reality for any type of career that you pursue. So when I ask that question, I've mentioned this question in the past. Can you picture yourself doing this in 50 years, despite everything that you may have gone through or everything that you might? And artists aren't the only victims in the world. We all are, okay? We're not, oh, poor little artists and nobody loves us. Sorry, I'm being stupid. But artists aren't the only ones that suffer. We all do. I have programmers and lawyers and all kinds of friends from every different walk of life that are all suffering too. But if you love it, you'll stick it through, okay? And that's why I asked that question. Despite everything that I've been through in the past, when I look at my career and somebody says, can you picture yourself doing this in 50 years? My answer is, yeah, of course, okay? And if my arms get blown off in a freak accident, I'll draw with my feet. And if my feet get cut off, I'll draw with my teeth. It doesn't make a difference. This is who I am. I'm going to find a way to make it happen, okay? And the more you do it, the easier life gets. The easier it is to find work, the more you refine your skill, the more the more marketable you are, the better reputation you create, the more you start to attract attention. All of those things come of it, but you have to stick it through. But you can't stick it through if you don't love it. And if you're sitting there and if I turn to you and I say, can you picture yourself doing this in 50 years? And you say, do this for 50 years? God, I'll be dead by then. Well, then that's a good indication that maybe you need to go back to school and learn something else. Try something different, or deviate from that specific type of art into a different type of art. Maybe you prefer doing graphic design. Maybe you prefer doing industrial design. Maybe you prefer working in fashion. Find that industry that fits you, that keeps you constantly satisfied and growing, something that makes you feel like you're home, okay? Because that's the overlying thing about it all, right? That's the real big, that's the determining factor in the end. When all of the politics and all of the finances are pushed aside, you still know where you're going. You still know you love it, and you can still picture yourself doing it in 50 years, all right? All right, this next comment is by my boy, Brandon Dennis, who from New Zealand. Very good friend, wonderful, wonderful guy, and one of my former students at LucidPIXUL. One of the originals, I might add. And Brandon, this is actually an elaboration on what we were just talking about. Brandon writes, "Great talk, Adam. I see online artists who are way better than me, and they are struggling to support themselves financially. It certainly does not give me confidence." Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. You see people who are super skilled, you see wonderful, kick-ass professional portfolios. Wow, mind-blowing stuff, and they're still struggling. And you're sitting there going, "Wow, if they're struggling, what does that say for me?" My answer to that is, forget what other people are experiencing. Forget what other people are going through. One of the big lessons I learned in my life, and it actually had nothing to do with art. It was personal. I was going through a personally hard time, and it was a time that was so rough for me that it did one of the most wonderful things that I ever experienced in my life. One of the best qualities I could ever uh, possess as a human being, I learned through one of the toughest times I ever experienced. And that was abandon your ego. Okay? Abandon your ego. You know, I'll give you a hypothetical situation. Imagine you're with somebody, you know, that you love more than life itself. You feel she's your soulmate. You're happier than anything in the world, and then you find out she cheats on you. Okay? Or you find out your boyfriend cheats on you. Okay? This is somebody you loved and trusted, and you just got your love and trust just got ripped apart. Okay? And you're just emotionally devastated. What is it that devastated you? Why, when people get cheated on, when people are hurt, when people when people suffer a very, very hard emotional hit to their morale, what is it that hurts? Well, the way I interpreted this and the way I got through this was to realize that you cannot control other people's decisions. Okay? And very often what you're thinking to yourself is if so-and-so cheated on me, okay, it's because that other person was a better quality human being than you were. That's your ego talking, right? That person is a better quality human being than me. They're better looking, they're smarter, they're a better fit for the person that I love, you know? And so you turn this against yourself. You turn that negative energy against yourself. You turn that criticism and that judgment against yourself. When in fact, unless, of course, you're an abusive prick, then you got what's coming to you and you deserve to sit there and fester in your own misery, as far as I'm concerned. But if you're not, if you're both good people, right? But or one of you's a good person, the other person decides to go and cheat, or whatever the case might be, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with that person. You don't have any claim on another person's decisions or thoughts. You don't own that person's decisions or thoughts. And when you can say that, you can also say, hell yeah. You know what? It's perfectly understandable for my ex-girlfriend to be sexually attracted to this other guy because he's her type, because he possesses qualities that she's attracted to. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. There's no, that doesn't mean I'm a lesser human being. That means she likes his eyebrows. You know, the sound of his voice reminds her of her high school crush. Who knows? Who cares? That's not for you to worry about. All you have to worry about is your best quality as yourself, who you are as a human being. I know I'm trailing off. I'm starting to sound more like a psychologist here, but it's that same quality of thought that I injected into my art career. I too have felt, looking at other people, going, "Wow, this artist is so freaking amazing," and he's struggling to find work. What does that mean for me? That's how I felt at the beginning of my career, you know, when I felt like I was at the bottom of the barrel. The bottom line is, it doesn't matter how good or bad that other person is. It doesn't matter what their financial situation is. It matters how much you respect yourself as an artist, how much you respect your own vision, how much you stay true to your own beliefs, you know? And despite this whole gauntlet of blades and swinging blades and shooting, you know, and flamethrowers and spikes and poisonous venomous snakes that are in your way, you just keep walking straight through it. Stay and focusing on yourself. And don't let other artists attack your ego. Celebrate other artists. You know, learn from them, celebrate them, appreciate them for being better than you. Okay? Because if in my last talk, I was in one of my talks, the last one that I just put out, it was about surviving as an artist, right? How to survive as an artist. And one of the biggest messages is you depend on each other for growth and survival. Your community, that is now a global online community, you need them. And you cannot grow with the support of other people if you're competing with them. Being a successful artist is not about competition. It's about camaraderie. It's about partnership. It's about brotherhood and sisterhood. Okay? That's what it's about. So if there's an artist that's better than you that's struggling, and you're at the bottom of the barrel and you're sitting there going, I don't have any experience and me, okay? If you feel that way, which of course we all do, because Brandon, you know, Brandon's an amazing artist who, you know, very ambitious guy, but he feels it too. We all do. You know, he's no exception to the rule. Instead of sitting there and putting yourself down and letting your ego eat away at you, look at that other very skilled artist who's suffering financially and say, what can I do to help that guy? What can I do to support him? But I can't support him. I can't help him because I'm a nobody. Yes, you are a somebody, and your help will help that person grow. Stop worrying about yourself, you know? Stop blaming yourself for everything. Have compassion for yourself and stay true to your beliefs. And that's what's going to get you through, right? There was a time in my life where I'd walk down the street, and if somebody that I didn't even know walking down the street would walk by and give me a dirty look like this, I would go home and think about it, and I would let it bother me, okay? Before my big ego, the big day my ego was obliterated, okay? Emotionally, and I was sitting there feeling really bad about myself. Before then, I would walk down the street, and if somebody, I was walking down the street and somebody gave me a dirty look walking down the street, I'd go home and, what the fuck is that guy's problem? Why the hell is he looking at me like that? I didn't do anything, you know? Sitting there and festering these thoughts in my head. And after that, I went, oh, it looks like somebody wants to pick a fight, you know? You know, if somebody walked up to me and gave me a dirty look and talked to them, I wouldn't sit back and let my ego go, who do you think you're talking to, challenging me, okay? Instead, I'd say, are you in a bad mood? Do you need to talk about it? I didn't do anything. But you look like you need to talk about it. It's because I'm not. His dirty look is not attacking my ego. I'm just looking at him as a person who's feeling a certain way outside of myself. Now, if I kicked him in the nuts, then that would explain it. So you're gonna get what's coming to you. But if you didn't, don't let other people's successes and failures dictate to you your quality as a person and as an artist. Because as we all know, Brandon is a freaking amazing artist. Right? We all know that. And I have to remind myself that on a daily basis too. I don't compare myself to other people. I support my peers, but I focus on what matters to me. And that's the bottom line. And don't let external forces help control your opinion of yourself or help you or cause you to change the way you perceive your own personal quality as a human being or as an artist. Because your quality is just perfectly fine as long as you know that you're doing things the right way. All right, so keep it up. Okay, our last question is from Brian L. Design. Hi again, Brian. Adam, I wanted to have more style like the guys on One Pixel Brush, and he has a link here, and it's really nice stuff. It's beautiful concept art. But I know I know that you don't use photo bashing in your like it's not something I do very often. Then if I take your mentorship, will that be a problem? I like the fact that you teach anatomy. I'm playing around with the sentence a little bit just because it's a little bit of broken English. I like the anatomy and the fact that I use a lot of different mixed techniques. Will that be able to help me anyway? Like, will the course still be valuable to me, even though it's a different approach? Thank you. I really think you need to be. I really think I need a mentor. Oh, I really think that I need a mentor. But I don't know if you can really be the one, at least for me. Good. Okay. Okay. So basically what Brian's asking is, he's asking me about my mentorship, and he's saying that he notices that I don't use a lot of photo bashing in my work, which is a very common technique, just kind of slapping together photographs and doing some paint overs. The whole point of it is to get high level of texture and detail quickly, right? When you're working on a very high demand, if you're working as a designer or a concept artist. And what he's clarifying here, which is something that's worth noting to everybody, is that I don't do a lot of photo bashing. Now, does that mean I don't use photos at all in my work? No, sometimes I do. Okay, if I'm looking for certain types of textures to add texture to an image, I generally use it for that kind of stuff. And I have done some photo bashing. I did work as a matte painter at a certain point, so I did learn how to do that kind of stuff as well. But it's not my thing. And in my mentorship, do I teach photo bashing in my mentorship? No, I don't teach photo bashing. I do teach photo textures. Okay, I do teach how to digitally texture and color pictures and stuff like that, but I don't do photo bashing in that regard. One of the main reasons why is because my personal beliefs in terms of teaching art is to really, really focus on your ability to create artistically. Okay, your ability to strengthen your artistic mind both technically and creatively. Okay. Photo bashing, I find, it's a tool that's very handy for people who already have that experience, who are already very confident artistically and want to just speed things up. But the act of photo bashing is kind of eliminating your need to think too much, right? Because it's doing all that. You're just taking photographs, morphing them, putting them here and this, and then doing a paint over, and you call it a day, right? You're not learning about perspective. You're not learning about color. You're not learning about texture. You're not learning about composition. You're not learning about any of these things because the photograph is doing that work for you, right? That's why it's so easy. So that's why I don't particularly teach it. Now, when it comes to, you know, the type of stuff that I do teach, I teach a lot of things. It's an 8-week course, so I might as well run you through it. I teach, volume and perspective. Week 1, week 2 is intensive anatomy. So if you want to learn anatomy, it's a good course for that because every bone and muscle of the human body you learn intimately. Okay, to value and light, to color, to composition, to visual storytelling, to environment painting, coloring digitally, coloring, the fine art approach to color, and the list goes on. There's a lot, okay? But in every single one of them, you're doing the work yourself. In every single one of them, it's your eyes that you're training. You're training the muscles of your eyes. You're training the muscles of your hands. You're training your ability to visualize, your ability to use, to visualize things in different ways, okay? Every artist has a slightly different approach to the work. They see things differently. They express themselves differently. They have a different storytelling style. So what my course does is it gives you all of these different tools, and you pick the ones that work best for you. And when we're actually sitting down doing our weekly sessions, because with every student it's private, right? So I'm not teaching classes. I teach each student individually, and we have 3 hours a week together, okay? And during that time, we're going over that week's assignment, whatever we're studying, whatever we're practicing that week. And through that, I'm reminding the artist to grab this technique and grab that tool and grab that tool to help you enhance your work. You're stuck, try this approach instead of that approach, right? And that's how I teach very often. But the bottom line is I want you as an artist to be able to find that technique, that style that fits you specifically, because that's the essence of your style. You want the tools to help enhance you, and not you enhance the tools, right? The tools are just there to help you. They're just there to help you get to your goal. But very often as artists, if we lack that training, or we don't understand our tools, or we don't understand the artistic principles well enough, it's always a hindrance. It's always holding you back from being able to express yourself to your full potential, okay? And that really is the essence of who I am as a teacher, is helping you reach your full potential, okay? And also helping you find your voice, helping you find your direction, helping you find your path. So by the time you make it to the end of the course, your wheels are revving, and you're just waiting for that light to turn green, and you're off. And then you start producing your portfolio. And that's, at that point, I work with you side by side to help you build your portfolio. Okay, so the course doesn't end at 8 weeks. It continues as you work through your gallery, because I'm always getting, messages from the alumni of LucidPixel asking me to have a look at their work. All right, so hopefully this answers your questions, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you're feeling a little bit better about yourself and your financial situation, and hopefully you feel a little bit empowered. And of course, if you're interested in attending the LucidPixel mentorship, remember that it's a first come, first serve. With the summer holidays, it's pretty packed, and a lot of people are getting in touch with me. So, if not now, later, okay? But all the information is in the link in the description. Remember to like and subscribe, because I put out videos every week, and spread the word. All right, happy painting. Take care.